First at 4, a dramatic water rescue. Take a close look at this video. We'll tell you how that axe may have helped save 2 lives. Also, a new immigration rule, why the Trump administration wants to make it possible to detain children for longer than 20 days. Good afternoon, Ben.
Karen, good afternoon. The thunderstorms are back. Are we in for another round of soakers before the humidity finally leaves us alone? Paula.
Ben, we cover fires all the time, but this one is different because of who was burned out of this apartment. Today, Santa and Mrs. Claus are homeless, and in a live report, I'll tell you what else they fear is lost in this fire. These stories and more are happening right now on Local 4 First at 4.
Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News First at 4 starts now.
Good afternoon. I'm Karen Drew. First at 4, 2 women are in the hospital right now after being rescued from an SUV that crashed into a neighborhood pond. Sky 4 footage shows the blue Ford fully submerged. Near the trunk, you can see the axe that was used to break a window to get to those 2 victims. We're told a woman in her 70s and a disabled woman were both rescued. We did talk to a neighbor who ran outside when he heard sirens blaring.
And turned to look to the left, and there's taillights sticking out of the pond. But we didn't see any skid marks or nothing over there. They must have just come sailing. I don't really know what the heck went on there.
Well, we're told the victims were taken to the hospital, listed in critical condition. The crash is under investigation. We're gathering the latest information. We'll have more at 5. The manhunt for a suspect in Southfield has entered its 6th hour. Police tried to pull the driver over at 9 Mile in Providence this morning. They say he rammed a police cruiser, which then hit an officer. Police chased after the suspect, but lost him when he got out and then ran into a neighborhood west of the Southfield Freeway. Officers did take a passenger in for questioning. She's a 25-year-old Farmington Hills woman. They also found an AK-47 and handgun in the car. We'll keep you posted if police track him down during this newscast. We do have some good news on the search for a missing teenager in Fraser. Police feared she could be in danger. Now, since noon, we've learned that 16-year-old Ashley Petrangelo is safe. She hadn't been seen for a week. Turns out she was with her boyfriend over in Roseville. Fraser police are thanking everyone for their help as well as their concern. We do have an update to a story we first brought you yesterday. First at 4, the Livingston County Sheriff's Office has now identified the 2 men who died yesterday in that small plane crash over in Howell Township. Authorities say 68-year-old James Traflian from Weberville and 64-year-old Philip Colmer from Chelsea were the ones that were killed in that crash. Right now, the cause of the crash remains unknown. NTSB is still investigating. We could see some isolated storms over the next few hours, but I think you'll be happy with what comes after that. So is it too early to start thinking about the weekend, Ben?
Absolutely not, Karen. We get to celebrate the fact that that humidity is leaving tonight. So it's literally hours away from saying sayonara. We do have some thunderstorms out there. The difference tonight, first of all, these are moving a lot faster. So even the places that see these, it's not going to be that 1 to 2 inches of downpours that we were looking at yesterday. We're also not under the threat for severe weather. Obviously, still some lightning strikes with this, and there will be some rain in spots, but a lot of us still need it. That stuff last night was pretty spotty, even though some of us got soaked. So we'll see at least the chance of those thunderstorms through about 9 o'clock. After that, the cold front goes through, the humidity starts going down, and tomorrow is a whole different ball game. We'll show you how long the good stuff lasts coming up. Karen?
Very much, Ben. The Trump administration has announced a big change to a long-standing immigration policy. The Department of Homeland Security is moving to end an agreement that limits how long immigrant families can be detained. Right now, children must be released after 20 days, but officials say they will now hold families during the entire length of their immigration hearings. Now, because of the 20-day restrictions, migrant families have been released into the U.S. while their cases go through the courts. The administration says the new rule will actually benefit families.
The new rule establishes a high national standard for care of children and families in custody, allows the government to keep families together for fair and expeditious immigration proceedings, restores integrity to our immigration system, and eliminates the incentive for children to be used or exploited to enter the United States.
Now, like many of the immigration policies coming from the Trump administration, this one is likely to face challenges in court. President Trump finds himself in a new war of words with an American ally. This time he's sparring with the Prime Minister of Denmark. It's all about his idea to buy Greenland, which has not been going over too well over in Europe. Let's get to Kimberly Gill in the newsroom, who's tracking both sides of this issue. Hey, Kim.
Hi, Karen. Good afternoon. Greenland is semi-autonomous. It's a part of the Danish kingdom, and overnight the president canceled a visit there after it rejected his idea of buying Greenland as absurd. The president didn't like it, and today he used a word that he's used a few times to describe the actions of women who disagree with him. Take a listen.
Greenland was just an idea, just a thought, but I think when they say it was absurd and it was said in a very nasty, very sarcastic way, I said, we'll make it some other time. We'll go to Denmark. I love Denmark. I've been to Denmark.
From the Danish Prime Minister to the citizens of Greenland, the president's cancellation and the idea of buying Greenland have been met with surprise and disbelief. People of Greenland speak plainly about the president. The Prime Minister was more diplomatic.
This does not change the character of our good relations.
I heard it was because he couldn't buy Greenland. So if he's that stupid, I think it's good that he's not coming.
Greenland is for the Greenland people and nobody else.
To be clear, the idea of buying Greenland has actually come up before. Most recently in 1946, the U.S. offered Denmark $100 million after flirting with the idea of swapping land in Alaska for strategic parts of the island. But instead, Denmark allowed the U.S. to build bases and radar stations there. Karen, we'll keep you posted. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Kim. Well, a local man and his wife who lived their lives as Santa and Mrs. Claus just survived a fire. That's the good news, but they are currently homeless. Our Paula Tutman found they're still jolly and hopeful they can resume their annual Santa operations in the next few months.
I think most people realize that Santa Claus has many, many different aliases. What you may not realize is that part of the year, Santa Claus lives in Michigan in plain sight, in plain view of everyone. For part of his life, he lives an alias, not as Kris Kringle, but as truck driver Daniel Sutkus. From October, he allows his natural hair and whiskers to turn white. He packs on a few extra pounds, and he becomes Detroit Santa, who goes wherever children and even adults are hurting to give them joy. He and his wife, Mrs. Claus, who goes by the alias Leanne Thody, are tireless, working to help others. But this year, that help could become very difficult. Saturday, a devastating apartment fire in Rochester Hills pushed Santa and Mrs. Claus out of the home they've known for the last 12 years.
Well, they came knocking on the door about 4:30, the police officers telling us that we had to get out of the apartment.
The hallway was filled with smoke.
The smoke was coming in through the door. It was a little hard to see to get out.
Today, they returned to retrieve some of their valuables, including their Santa suits.
This is Mrs. Claus's gown. This is Mrs. Claus's cape.
They are expensive and hard to replicate, and today they smell like smoke.
We've contacted the people who make our suits, and there is not enough time to make another suit before Christmas.
Currently, the couple is living at a hotel with cats they say magically transform during the holidays.
It's magical. You wouldn't believe the transition. Sometime around Thanksgiving, they start sprouting antlers. You betcha.
They're not worried about themselves. They're actually worried about the children who may not see Santa and Mrs. Claus in their customary holiday regalia this year. But for a guy and a gal who hail from the North Pole, today, Santa and Mrs. Claus say,
wow, it's crazy how it melted.
They are still the luckiest couple alive.
We're out of our home, but we have each other. I'm not sad. I'm here with my princess, and everyone's alive and working and evacuating apartments still, and we'll be okay.
You know, I have met Detroit Santa and Mrs. Claus on numerous occasions, done many stories on them. They have always been jolly, particularly Santa, including today. But the concern, Karen, is palpable. Indeed, they do not have a permanent place to live. But their biggest concern, believe it or not, is that they won't be ready in time for the holiday season because they start their transformation in October, and they're also very worried about 8 additional families who are also made homeless by that fire this Saturday. Detroit Santa is absolutely incredible. We do fire stories all the time. Hard to believe that a neighbor could be Santa who today is homeless.
Hopefully some people will step forward and help the Detroit Santa and all the other people that are suffering that loss from that apartment fire. We appreciate it. Thank you, Paula. Still had something that Facebook has been promising to do for about a year. New information about better privacy protections for your account. But first, Dr. George is here.
Well, Karen, new research shows the serious impact of high drug prices. We'll talk about what many patients are doing to save money. Also, a new healthier kind of butter. Scientists have created something new, and we'll show you what it's made of.
All right, later we'll show you what a groomer did to this golden doodle. You might like it. The dog's owner did not. Stay with us.